Washington can raise tariffs overnight, but it cannot manufacture Saskatchewan's geology. As another Canada-US trade deadline closes in, one commodity remains conspicuously protected: potash, the fertilizer America's Farm Belt cannot easily replace. Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. The stakes are enormous. The United States imports more than 90% of the potash it consumes, while Canadian producers are expanding output and opening more routes to overseas buyers. Prices are calm for now, but that dependence gives Canada leverage Washington cannot simply tariff away. Here are 7 reasons Canadian potash now puts America's agricultural vulnerability in sharp focus. Number 7. Washington taxed Canadian potash, then quickly retreated. Washington has already tested the limits of squeezing Canadian potash. In March 2025, additional tariffs hit Canadian goods, with many non-USMCA products facing 25%. Potash quickly became politically radioactive because American farmers were already battling thin margins, volatile crop prices, and expensive inputs. Farm groups warned the tariff would ricochet straight into fertilizer bills. Days later, Washington cut the additional duty on non-USMCA potash to 10%, while qualifying USMCA shipments avoided it. That retreat exposed the problem. Punishing Canada also meant punishing America's own farm belt before planting. Washington's retreat makes more sense when you see the numbers. America's dependence on Canadian potash is staggering. Number 6. America's potash dependence. The numbers are staggering. The dependency becomes startling in the data. U.S. Geological Survey figures place American net potash import reliance near 92% of consumption in 2025. From 2021 through 2024, Canada supplied roughly 79% of those imports, dwarfing Russia and Israel. America mined about 500,000 metric tons of potassium oxide equivalent in 2025. Canada produced around 15 million. Saskatchewan's advantage is not just ore underground, it is decades of mines, processing plants, rail links, storage, and distribution. Potash also joined America's 2025 critical minerals list, formally acknowledging its strategic importance to national resilience. So why not simply buy potash somewhere else? Because replacing Saskatchewan is far harder than it sounds. Number 5. America has alternatives, but Saskatchewan is nearly irreplaceable. Other suppliers exist, including Russia, Israel, and Belarus, but replacing Canada is a logistics nightmare. Saskatchewan sits directly above the American Farm Belt, feeding established rail corridors, storage terminals, blending plants, fertilizer dealers, and Midwest farms. Overseas replacement supply would require available tonnage, competitive pricing, ships, ports, inland transportation, and perfectly timed delivery during narrow planting windows. Domestic mines offer no quick fix either. Viable geology, permits, billions in capital, processing equipment, and rail connections take years. Potassium remains an essential crop nutrient, so farmers cannot simply engineer dependence away. Washington knows the problem, and it's now spending hundreds of millions trying to reduce that dependence. Number 4. Washington's $500 million bet. Can America break free? Washington knows the vulnerability, which is why USDA's fertilizer investment and expansion for long-term domestic supply program matters. Fields has at least $500 million available for independent U.S. fertilizer projects, including production, processing, storage, transportation, and potash. Applications close August 17, 2026, just 2 days before the next major Canada tariff deadline. Yet money cannot compress mining timelines. New potash projects need deposits, permits, engineering, financing, equipment, processing plants, and rail access. Farmers buy by season. Mines arrive by decade. Domestic investment helps, but Saskatchewan remains the near-term pressure point strategically. Washington can spend today, but farmers need fertilizer now, and ultimately, they feel this vulnerability through price. Before we hit the top 3, hit like and subscribe to Piston Pundit for more deep dives into vehicles, trade, and the industries behind them. The biggest twist is still ahead. Now here's where Canada's potash leverage gets really interesting. Number 3. Potash prices look calm. America's bigger risk lurks. Here's the twist. Despite the tariff drama, potash prices are not exploding. Illinois Farm Doc data from August 12th placed 2026 prices around $490 to $505 per ton, while DTN's national survey showed roughly $495, only about 2% above a year earlier. The bigger danger is structural. Farmers already face costly fertilizer, fuel, financing, equipment, and labor, while depending heavily on Canada for potassium. Potash supports water regulation, stress tolerance, and yields. Today's price is manageable. Disruption to Canada's efficient supply chain is the real threat. That vulnerability is the story. The real danger isn't today's price, it's tomorrow's supply. And Canada is gaining more places to sell its potash. Number 2, Canada expands potash and finds buyers beyond America. Canada's leverage grows because its producers are expanding while building more routes beyond America. Nutrien reported record first half of 2026 potash production and sales, moving about 7.45 million tons, including roughly 5.25 million offshore. BHP's massive Jansen project adds another layer, with Stage 1 targeted for mid-2027, and both stages designed for roughly 8.5 million tons annually once fully ramped. Just as important, CN and CPKC will move Jansen potash west toward Vancouver. America needs Canadian supply. Canada is gaining more customers and more negotiating room. That shift steadily strengthens Ottawa's hand. America needs Canadian potash while Canada gains alternatives. And the August 19th Showdown exposes exactly what that means. Number 1, August 19th Showdown. Washington still won't touch potash. The August 19 tariff showdown exposes the imbalance most clearly. Trump's July 20th proclamations prepared 50% Section 33(8) tariffs on selected Canadian goods, potentially covering nearly $20 billion in imports. Yet potash remains exempt. Negotiations have intensified, with Canadian Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer meeting repeatedly before the deadline. Washington already reduced heavier potash tariffs in 2025. America remains roughly 92% import dependent, and new domestic mines take years. Even during an aggressive trade fight, Washington keeps shielding the fertilizer it cannot easily replace. Strategically, that exemption ties everything together. Washington can pressure Canadian trade, but potash reveals the limits of that strategy. Verdict: Canada holds the potash. America holds the risk. Canada's potash advantage is not about a sudden fertilizer price shock. It is about structural leverage. America remains roughly 92% import dependent. Canada supplies most of those imports, and Washington now classifies potash as a critical mineral. Meanwhile, Nutrien is pushing record volumes, BHP is building new Saskatchewan capacity, and westbound rail routes are opening more access to global buyers. As Washington threatens steep tariffs on other Canadian goods while protecting potash, the message is unmistakable. Canada controls a resource America still cannot quickly replace. That is leverage built into geology. So what do you think? Does Washington's decision to protect potash prove Canada has more trade leverage than many Americans realize? Can the United States realistically reduce its dependence on Saskatchewan? Or will the geology and infrastructure always favor Canada? And as Canadian producers gain more overseas customers, should Ottawa use that diversification as bargaining power in future trade negotiations? Share your thoughts, experiences, and predictions in the comments. And subscribe to Piston Pundit to get notified about the next vehicle updates, industry developments, and upcoming videos. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.